Hello and welcome to the very first episode of the Blatino Nerd Podcast. I am your host, Jordan Perez, the Blatino Nerd. And after weeks and potentially months of planning, it is finally here. Thank you to all who helped make this possible. This is the Blatino Nerd Podcast. And to give you a little bit about myself, as I said, my name is Jordan. I am from North Jersey, home of the world's best pizza. Don't argue me on this. And the undisputed breakfast king, Taylor ham, egg, and cheese. Yes, that is Taylor ham, not pork roll. I said it. And the Blatino nerd, yours truly, comes from my Blatino heritage, as I call it. I am black and Latino, Puerto Rican specifically, and well, I am a nerd, Latino nerd. It makes sense. Also, if you'd like, you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok. Yes, I have a TikTok because all the kids are doing it these days. It is at Blatino Nerd. And, well, why did I start a podcast? Why does anyone start a podcast? I know a lot about a lot of things, and I like to talk about most anything. So I figure, hey, why not combine those two things? Start a podcast, get some friends, get some guests, get them on it too. Let's talk about things. And basically with this podcast, I am going to talk about all things nerdy. Now, this is a more adult take on those nerdy things, so there's going to be some naughty language. There's going to be some content that you may not want the little ones to hear. So with that being said, this is not for them. And topics will include all things nerdy, entertainment, movies, music, video games, sports, cons, cosplaying, all of those things. However, future episodes will also take a walk on the wild side, if you will, as I will discuss anything from sex to fetishes to webcam girls to the phenomenon that seems to be OnlyFans. I don't know much about it, but in future episodes I will hopefully have guests on who do, and this will be a learning experience for both me and any other listeners I may have out there, which is what I hope to accomplish with this podcast, to talk about things that we already know about and maybe educate people who may not know about these topics, as well as get an education on myself for those things that I may not know that much about. But nothing is off limits here. I will have podcast episodes based on pretty much any topic imaginable. This is going to be well-rounded, and regardless of what you're into, I would like to think that my podcast would be where you want to come. That being said, let's get right into it. I realize that these are wild times right now with COVID and pretty much anything nerd related being postponed or out and out canceled, forcing a lot of us to just be at home during these times. And for those of you who are out working and are deemed essential or are healthcare workers, all that, I salute you. Keep doing what you guys do. Thank you. Thank you. I realize you guys are sacrificing a lot right now, and I appreciate that. Thank you. And this is an unprecedented time. It's honestly not something I thought I would see in my lifetime. And to provide a little levity, obviously, I was hoping for a zombie apocalypse, and it doesn't look like that's going to happen in this time. So I guess COVID would be the next best thing, wouldn't it? So movies, music, even the world of professional wrestling, which I am also a big fan of, have all been affected by COVID, from wrestlers performing in empty arenas to sports being postponed altogether. This was the first Memorial Day since 1880 where there wasn't an MLB game. And I gotta tell you, that one actually hurt me a little bit. I'm a big baseball fan. Specifically, I am a fan of the Milwaukee Brewers. You heard that correctly. I'm in New Jersey, but a diehard fan of the Milwaukee Brewers. If there's anyone out there who knows another Brewers fan in Jersey, send them my way. Let's get them on the show. Let's get to talking about the Brew Crew. That is right. And it's been wild because Memorial Day is like the one day when you're not grilling and you're out front, you got baseball. And there's no baseball, and we don't know when there's going to be any baseball this year, and that's rough. This also would have been in the midst of the NBA playoffs, which I was really excited for because this was going to be the most exciting playoffs that we've had in quite some time. Just all the teams in the East were pretty much phenomenal. The West, as always, the most competitive conference in all of basketball. First of all, I'd like to throw out that any conference LeBron is playing in is going to be the most competitive conference. I don't care. F your opinion. It is what it is. It's LeBron. So this was going to be wild. Of course, my Dallas Mavericks, for the first time in years, would have made the postseason. Yes, I am a Mavericks fan, and I was looking forward to it. Luka Doncic is an absolute beast. But we also won't get to see that, and I'm hoping that they can come to some kind of agreement this year to at least give us a postseason in an already shortened NBA season. The NFL also greatly affected by COVID. We just had the draft a few weeks ago, and I gotta say, it's not the same watching all these guys at home get phone calls knowing that they're drafted. First of all, congratulations to the 2020 NFL draft class. I have faith that you guys are absolutely going to kill it when you finally get on that gridiron for the first time. I know it. I have hopes for you. And once this is all over, I can't wait for that NFL kickoff. There's nothing better than watching that first kickoff of the season. NASCAR seems to have continued operations and held their first race, which I forget who won. I'm sorry about that. But it seems they have a protocol in place, which I don't know if they're racing into empty tracks, which I imagine would be the safest option for everyone. Well, about as safe as a bunch of men driving cars, and women, Danica Patrick, driving in cars going upwards of 200 miles an hour. I'd imagine that's about as safe as they're going to be. But I'm glad that NASCAR is up and running, and for all you NASCAR fans out there, enjoy the season. I'm sure it's going, if anything, it's going to be an interesting one. No hockey, which is also killing me because I am a huge hockey fan. I've been a hockey fan since I watched the Mighty Ducks trilogy as a kid, and as such, I am also a Mighty Ducks fan. I know you were thinking, this dude fucking lives in Jersey. How do you not root for any of the home teams? It's as simple as I just don't. I can't explain it. I've never rooted for any of the home teams. I probably should, but I don't know. It's a thing, and I've never been a fan of our home teams. However, I will say I am a fan of any team that plays against the Steelers or the Patriots. I'm just sorry, Patriots fans. It is what it is. If your team is playing against any team in the NFL, I'm a fan of that team for the next 4 quarters. I'm sorry, I can't do it. But sports talk, you guys can yell at me next episode. Sorry. But another industry greatly affected by COVID is the movie industry. A lot of movies were set to come out. That doesn't seem to be happening now. And we've had a few released directly to digital, which have done amazingly well. Like The Invisible Man, which, to sound oxymoronic, is probably the most original horror remake I've ever seen. It is just so well done, well written, well casted, well acted. Elizabeth Moss absolutely kills it. And if you guys have not seen The Invisible Man, I believe it is out on DVD and Blu-ray now. Do yourself a favor, go to Redbox, rent it, buy it if you want. I plan to buy a copy. It was just such a phenomenal film, and it is definitely worth a few rewatches. Just brilliant. We also had Trolls, which released straight to digital and was actually so successful that movie chains have announced that they are no longer going to carry Universal Pictures, which is a baffling move to me because Universal is maybe second hand to Disney in box office gold. Like, I don't see why you would want to carry a movie or a movie company rather, whose movies are like found money, especially with the next installment in the Fast and Furious franchise, which, let me throw out there that we're almost 25 years into. That is crazy to think about. Little tidbit, if you want to feel old. In the very first Fast and Furious movie, the big score that they were after, quote unquote, was a truck full of TV VHS combos and old stereo tape decks. Yes, that is what they were after in the very first movie. And it went from quarter mile races to international espionage to every few years a government agent or some random villain just walks up to Dominic Toretto, and just says the word family, and all of a sudden he's like, sign me up. I got some people. Okay, I realize my Vin Diesel sounds more like Batman, but my original comment still stands. But yes, we are now up to the 9th film in the franchise, which adds John Cena to the cast and the rare villainous role that John Cena plays. This should be interesting because, more than anything, and if this is a spoiler for people who have not seen the trailer, spoiler alert, but for the rest of us, we saw the trailer. Like, we saw Han die. Twice, I may add. How the fuck is he in this movie? For no other reason, I need to see how. Also, Dominic Toretto has gushed about having family and how family is important, but somehow has failed to mention that he has a biological brother. So that should be interesting to see. So I'm excited for Fast and Furious 9. I know at this point everybody's like they need to stop making these movies, but it's pretty much become Universal's equivalent to Star Wars. If it comes out and it makes a ton of money, who cares what the quality of the films are at this point? People are going to see them. So, it is what it is. Another big movie affected by this is the oft-delayed New Mutants, which was finally set to see release 2 weeks ago. And now it seems that again, at least this time, because of COVID, it is not happening again. Now, in my opinion, it would serve them well to just release it as a Disney Plus exclusive. But I guess after years of reshooting and rewriting and every other hurdle that seems to be in this film's way, I'm convinced that someone out there just does not want this movie to come out. I think it might be Ryan Reynolds. I think Ryan Reynolds is behind it. But, it is what it is. It just seems to me now that the movie is pretty much DOA. I mean, it can come out in future, but I think it would just serve them well to just release it to Disney Plus instead of having to delay it yet again. We first got the trailer for New Mutants, I believe, 2.5 years ago. 2.5 years ago. That is crazy. And still no movie. And I'm still hoping that the movie sees release because I do kind of have high hopes for it. And I know the X-Men franchise has taken a downward spiral since the super amazing Days of Future Past, but I am still hoping that this works out because I am still going to be there on whatever format the movie finally sees release on, and we'll talk about it in a future episode. Definitely. I'm always looking for new media and new content to be able to discuss with you guys because those of you who have me on Facebook know that I love to gush about these things, whether it's in reviews or flooding your timeline with a bunch of pictures and trailers and stats about how I am just always excited for these things. So this has now given me the proper platform to gush to you as well as other people. Another movie, Wonder Woman 1984, which crushes my soul because if you guys know me, and for those of you who don't, I am a massive Wonder Woman fan. Big Wonder Woman fan. I've been a Wonder Woman fan ever since I was a kid. She is absolutely one of my favorite superheroes. And like the rest of the world, I had my doubt when Gal Gadot was cast as Wonder Woman because as beautiful as she is, I don't want to say that she didn't have the look because she absolutely kills it, but there were just so many things and I was like, I don't know. And then the first Wonder Woman movie happened and it is hands down one of the greatest superhero films ever made. People can say what they want about Marvel, and I know DC live actions are so bottom of the barrel. As a big DC fan, I can admit that. No one beats DC on animateds, but the live action films are on a massive upswing, and I am so glad for this. Between Wonder Woman, Aquaman, the fantastic Shazam, and Birds of Prey, which was a great movie. I don't care what anybody says. I will die on that hill. Birds of Prey was a fantastic movie. I loved it. And I actually would like to see more of Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn because she has killed it so far. She made Suicide Squad mildly watchable, and Birds of Prey was great. Another movie with a fantastic cast that I was a big fan of. And if you guys haven't seen it, even if you rent it, again, I suggest you check it out. I'd love to discuss it with you on my Facebook page, on Instagram, whatever, in the comment section. Let's go. Video games, another big industry hit by COVID that everyone seemed unprepared for except the genius monsters at Nintendo who released Animal Crossing at probably the most opportune time in history. Switches are being sold like essential emergency items, so much so that Amazon had them in stock yesterday, and I believe the stock was gone in like 15-20 minutes. It was like the early stages of the pandemic when everyone decided, hey, I need toilet paper, hey, I need paper towel. Now everyone is like, shit, I need a Nintendo Switch, and they are flying off the shelves as quickly as they are hitting them. And it is because everybody just wants in on the Animal Crossing phase. For those of you who don't know what Animal Crossing is, it is essentially a life simulator. You move to an island where you owe a capitalist Tanuki money for everything you do. But the big payoff is that you have villagers move into your island and you work with them, you help them build their homes. They all live together, you fish, you catch bugs, You build a museum, you have shops, your friends can come over, which is the big thing with this installment in the Animal Crossing franchise is the social aspect. I know there are a lot of people who are in quarantine and are alone during these times, and my heart and thoughts are with you guys. And the social aspect of Animal Crossing has been the big seller here, where people are able to go visit the islands of their friends, their family members. There are even groups formed on Facebook, a few of which I am a member of, where people just meet and gather and sell each other items, buy each other's items, trade each other villagers, trade each other items, DIY materials, everything like that. Actually, I had a very, very close friend of mine whose birthday was last week, and due to the shelter in place, she couldn't celebrate it. So a bunch of us got together and visited her for her island, or on her island rather, and we left her gifts, and we sat around and listened to the always super, super talented KK Slider perform her special birthday tune, and it was nice. And the social aspect of the game has really helped bring people together during these wild times, especially in places like here in New Jersey and New York, which are hit harder than everyone else during COVID. And it has definitely helped people. I've heard stories of it helping people get over anxiety, whether it be social anxiety or just anxiety in general. It has helped people with their depression. It has helped people with their inability to interact with others. It reminds me of the craze of Pokemon Go for years ago. I know you guys remember that, when no matter what was going on in the world, everyone united at Pokestops. We all got together to catch massive Pokemon, and what was going on in the world didn't matter because we had that thing. That was our thing. And Animal Crossing reminds me a lot of that, where hours can go by because there's just so much to do in the game that hours can go by, and whatever's going on out there, outside your door, outside of your window, it doesn't matter because you are group fishing with friends. You guys are doing photo ops. You are shopping at each other's stores. Unless you're my adorable, darling 6-year-old who just got an axe and just wants to chop every fucking tree she comes across every time she visits someone's island. Hey, may I cut your trees? No, you can't cut my trees. I need them. Pick my weeds. Something. Just don't cut my trees. She cuts the trees, breaks the rocks. It's her island. She can do what she wants. My wife, on the other hand, recently achieved a 5-star island, which is the ultimate goal, I think, of everyone playing Animal Crossing. She hit her 5-star island a few weeks ago, and she has just been over the moon about it. And a few things about my amazing wife, Erica, one of the big people who pushed me to do this, is that she's not a gamer in the sense that I am. Like, she has a few games. Like, she loves Grand Theft Auto. She plays Assassin's Creed like nobody's business. She's a fan of Donkey Kong and, like, Mario Kart and stuff like that, but she's not a big gamer. She has played this game every day for hours since launch, and she has somewhere near like the 285 hour mark in this game, which, like, those were my numbers for Skyrim and like Zelda Breath of the Wild. So I think it's amazing, and she just puts so much time and effort into making her island perfect, which it currently is because it's a 5-star rating. Meanwhile, I have played these games since the original on GameCube over 20 years ago, and I only just recently managed a 4-star island. And I have everything from one of those spinning teacup rides to fucking Godzilla. I have fucking Godzilla sitting outside of my house, which sits on a beach, mind you. My house sits on a beach in Animal Crossing. And fucking Godzilla, who fucking breathes fire and everything, is out there. And no, it is not good enough for the Tanuki or rather the Shih Tzu, who keeps telling me that, oh, your island is at 4 stars. You need to keep adding more. But then my wife goes and she's like, oh, 5-star island. It's wonderful. I'm not jealous or anything. I'm just saying, what's a guy got to do to get a 5-star island? And for those of you who recently just started playing, welcome. For those of you who have been playing for a while and worried that your island may not be pretty enough or good enough and you're still sitting at 3 stars, you're doing fine. You don't suck. You're not terrible at the game. Your island is beautiful regardless. I promise you. Just keep working at it and you'll get it. And then I will come to your island and then I will probably bring my child who will chop all your fucking trees. So there's that to look forward to. Another big industry affected by COVID, as I mentioned earlier, wrestling. The wrestling industry, which, relies heavy on large crowds, people in constant contact with each other. One of the things that you thought would be affected the most by COVID. However, Vince McMahon, being the genius that he is, I don't care what anybody has to say negatively about him, but you don't get as far as you have in the wrestling business by being stupid. He had WWE deemed an essential business in Florida so that he could operate out of the Performance Center, which I know seems like a risky move health-wise, but I've been watching Raw and SmackDown and even WrestleMania, which got condensed to the Performance Center because the Ray James Stadium was closed due to COVID, which sucks for them because that was supposed to be a massive financial take for them. They lost upward of $100 million on that deal, I believe, which sucks. But there seems to be a protocol in place, and they have been replacing crowd members with other wrestlers who just, I guess, weren't working that night. And there was even plastic separating the barricade from the ring, which I thought was actually a very, very smart move. And while I will admit it's not the same watching WWE, AEW, and all those guys do shows with just other wrestlers in attendance, it is the closest thing to normal that we've had since this thing started. So I'll take it. I mean, wrestling in general has been so enjoyable the past few weeks. I mean, you got guys who normally get lost in the shuffle, have been putting on phenomenal shows. Currently, I'm a big Humberto Carrillo fan. The guy is amazing. It is, I don't want to say it's like watching Eddie, because no one will ever be the great Eddie Guerrero. May you continue to rest in peace. But Humberto Carrillo is just so talented, and his in-ring work is phenomenal, and he has been part of the reason that I continue to tune into Monday Night Raw every Monday. Because it's between him, Apollo Crews, Austin Theory, Angel Garza, these guys have been absolutely killing it. And over on the SmackDown side, the women have actually been stepping forward. Bayley has been incredibly entertaining lately. Mandy Rose and why can't I remember her name right now? that is terrible. But you get Mandy Rose, and then you have guys like Dolph Ziggler and Otis, which is like the feud I didn't know I wanted to see in WWE, but it has been crazy entertaining, and I hope that they can keep it up during this wild time. I will keep tuning in. I want to thank you guys for sitting in with me on my first podcast and listening to me rant about crazy things. I know this is just my first episode, but continue to bear with me. I promise you won't regret it. One thing before I go, I just want to say we lost a beautiful, wonderful, and incredible person last week in Hana Kimura, who tragically ended her own life. And I just want to say, I realize the power of social media. I do, as we all do. It can be fun. It can be amazing. It can be a great way to keep in touch with family, friends, loved ones. But it can also be a dangerous place, be it physically or in this case, verbally. And I know there are people out there who think, well, those are just words. Words can't hurt. Not everybody has the same view that you do, and words are powerful. Just look at the Bible, written media, music, poetry, movies. Words are powerful, and they can convey way more sometimes than actions can. And just, be careful out there. Watch what you say, who you say it to, because all it takes is the one person. Just one person. Just words to you can be soul crushing for someone else. And if one person, I'm sure, if we're all a little nicer to each other, even if we only manage to save one life during that, then we've accomplished great things. I promise you. Well, thank you for tuning in to the Blatino Nerd podcast. I will see you guys around. Thank you for listening, and keep it nerdy.